Hey guys, I'm Rob. This is the Hammer and Halo DIY, and today we're installing this flat pack kitchen. Let's get into it. We assembled all these cabinets yesterday from this giant stack of flat pack boxes. So if you're at that stage of your kitchen remodel, you might want to pause this video, check out our previous video first, and then come back to this one. I'll put a link right at the top here. First things first, we got to make some room to move around in here. Fully assembled boxes take up a lot of floor space, so it's a good idea to make a couple other rooms accessible prior to the install. First thing you want to do is locate all the studs. Using a stud finder is the easiest way to do this. Stud finders are relatively inexpensive, and if you're a DIYer, then you most likely have one. However, if you don't, I'll throw a link to some of the different models I use in the description below, along with a bunch of other helpful tools for cabinet installations. Leveling the stud lines with a 4-foot level from top down to the base cabinets will ensure proper screw placement in each cabinet, so you don't end up with a bunch of unnecessary holes in your finished boxes. These preliminary steps may seem like overkill, but I assure you, it will save you some frustration during install. This next step is very important. Measure from the corner out to the first stud, then transfer that measurement to the top of the cabinet. Do the same for the other side, then subtract the thickness of the back panel. For example, our first measurement is 7.5 inches to the first stud, less the thickness of the back panel, which is 5/8 of an inch, which equals 6 7/8 of an inch. Now take that measurement and mark the inside of the cabinet, measuring from the inside back panel toward the stud location. This will be your first mounting screw location. Okay, so there's always two of us doing a kitchen, so it's pretty easy. One guy holds the box on the lower line, and then the other guy screws the box in the wall. If you don't have a second set of hands, another thing you can do is put a 2x4 along the bottom line, set your cabinet on that. So it's easier to do with somebody else, but if you're by yourself, it's still not a problem. Once your top screws are secure, you can then transfer that same measurement to the lower side of the box and drive in 2 more screws. Now you always want to check level on your box when you get it in. This side is good, this side is not good. So as you can see, the bottom has to come out about 1/4 inch. Keeping your first box level is super important. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen the screw on this side. We're going to put a shim up in there. That'll pull the box away from the wall a little bit on this bottom end, and that'll then level out this cabinet, and then we have a good base to start with. And here I'm just using the help of a small pry bar to help slide the shim in behind the cabinet. Then I'll bang it up until the front face of the cabinet is level. Then just tighten the screw back up. With our first box secure and level, we can now start adding the rest of the boxes as per the kitchen layout plan. So all you want to do is line up this so it's flush, clamp your boxes together, and then we'll dump 1.1/8" screws in each corner, top and bottom, and that'll hold that box to the previous box. Then we can get our screws into the wall stud as well. We use these Milwaukee C-clamp vice grips to hold each box to the previous box until we can get our screws in. Of course, life throws us a curveball just as we're starting to get on a roll. All right, so we're running into our first problem. The box for above the stove, the plan calls for a 30-inch box, and what they sent us and what we put together the other day was a 30-inch, but it was deep. It's meant for above a 30-inch fridge. So we're gonna stop on this side. We don't have time to wait for another 3 or 4 weeks to get a box that was a mistake. Ain't nobody got time, ain't nobody got time, ain't nobody got time for that. I may take it back to my shop, cut it up so that it becomes a 12-inch by 30-inch, and bring it back and do it that way. So we're going to stop on this side. We're going to move to this side now. Same thing, start with a corner, working our way outward. The last upper cabinet on this side is a 36 by 24 inch deep appliance box. So we have to improvise a bit because our clamps are just not big enough to hold the two cabinets together. We have two choices here. We can either attach a ledger board to act as a support, or you can do what I'm doing and get your helper to man up and hold it in place until I get the screws in.
Yo, you about done? Tick tock, mother.
Onto the lower cabinets, we're going to follow the same procedure as the upper boxes, starting with the corner cabs and working our way out from there. Leveling up the corner boxes as our starting point and using shims again to raise the front or backs as needed. With the corner cabinets secure, then just clamp the next box to it, screw them together, and then secure them to the wall studs. If you need to shim them up, what I like to do is leave the shim wide on the side where the next box will go. By doing this, you can just lift the next box onto the same shim to maintain the same level as you move across with each box. When you're jumping box to box between an appliance like this stove space, I always add a 1/4 inch extra. For example, our stove is 30 inches wide, so our cabinet width from cabinet to cabinet will be 30 1/4. This will allow for a little bit of wiggle room for the stove to slide in and out, and will allow for an 1/8 inch overhang on each side for the future countertops. On the wall side of the cabinet, in this case, you can see there is a gap of about 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches. This space is needed for the doors, or drawers in this case, to open and close freely. We'll fill it in later in the video with a filler strip. The sink base can be a little intimidating based off of the cutouts required to allow for your water supply and drain pipes to enter the cabinet. Try to remove any of the drain pipe assemblies prior to measuring for your cutouts. This will lessen the cuts you'll have to make in the cabinet. Every kitchen will be different, so all I can say is measure everything twice, cut once, and good luck. Now we'll make a quick run back to my small shop to cut and rebuild the cabinet that was shipped incorrectly, and back to install it to finish off at least the installation of all the boxes. Also, if you have a hood fan or microwave hood fan with a ceiling vent pipe, you'll have to cut the top of the cabinet at this point prior to installing it.
You all right? Okay.
Now we can jump into the fillers, the kicks, doors, and hardware. The doors and shelves are self-explanatory. The hinges should have been installed when you assembled all the boxes, so it's just a matter of finding what goes where. For the fillers, measure the width and length of each opening. It's also handy to have access to a table saw for this step. However, I guess you could probably cut them with a jigsaw and a good blade if you really take your time. On the upper fillers, there's a front face filler as well as an underside filler needed. In a case like this, I always like to put a 45-degree angle on the two pieces to make the filler look more like one continuous piece. With the lower cabinet fillers, you only need the front face filler. Once all our fillers are cut and installed, we use a paintable DAP caulking and apply a thin bead which finishes off the cabinet to the wall edge. To drill out the holes for the handles, we usually make a simple jig on site based off the handle size that the customer supplies. You could measure each handle out individually on each door, but it's a lot faster and more precise to build the jig, and it works for both right and left-hand hinge doors. Super happy with the way this kitchen turned out. I had a couple little hiccups, like with the cabinet we had to cut down. All the fillers in place, all the handles drilled and in place. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Peace.